Good day. My name is Engineer Carlo F. Cabanus, and today I'm going to present my research paper review as this is a partial requirement or activity in my Master's in Engineering, major in Civil Engineering, here in University of Negros Occidental-Recoletos, Recoletos de Bacolod Graduate School. So specifically in our subject, MCE 2030, mainly modeling and simulation of engineering systems with our professor, Doc Ryan Evangelista. So the title of this research paper that I review is all about simulation model for determining civil engineering project earliest finishing time. So the authors are Everett Dixon, MPK Paro, or MK Paro, Emmanuel I. Agonilio IV, Chinido Kingsley Achuke, Emmanuel Emeka Akafor, and lastly, Daniel Dabi Richuko Ogboe. So a brief overview of the research paper that I reviewed. This research paper presents a simulation-based approach for estimating the earliest possible completion time of civil engineering projects. The authors recognize the construction project often suffer delays due to uncertainties in activity durations, resource fluctuations, and unforeseen operational disruptions. So traditional scheduling tools like critical path method or CPM and PERT provide deterministic or simplified probabilistic outputs, but they fall short when real-world uncertainty becomes complex. So the study is made because of those hindrances. And so in civil engineering, we all know that um, a construction project is not always in line with the specific calendar days that it should be finished. So that's why this research paper, I think, is made because of those reasons. So here are the table of contents or the questions that I'm going to answer after I review the research paper. So the first one, we have who has or have done the work. The second one, what were their goals or objectives? Third one, what were the research questions, if any? The fourth one, what were their methods in terms of but not limited to? So the fourth one has a following questions, which is answered in the preceding slides. So the fifth one, what were their findings? The sixth one, what were the gaps in their studies or findings? Then the last one is, what is your takeaways on the research paper? Have or who was or have done the work. So the research is done by these 5 people. So namely, we have Everett Dixon, MPK Paru. So he is a civil engineering at China construction company. So he is a proactive, innovative, and diligent civil engineer and advocate of sustainable infrastructure projects. The second one is Emmanuel I. Agun U4. So he is a lecturer at Chukwuemeka Odomego Ohopo University in Nigeria. So actually, these 5 people is natively in Nigeria. The third one who has done this work is Chinido Kingsley Achuke. So Chinido Kingsley Achuke is a data scientist or IT support and network support based in Nigeria. The fourth one is Emmanuel Emeka Ekafor. So he is a professor of psychology in University of Ibadan, which is in Nigeria, and a industrial psychology working in human resource management. And lastly, we have Daniel Dabirichu Ko Ogbohi. He is also a co-author of optimization of road pavement maintenance in Nigeria. So these 5 people is the author behind this research paper. So next, what were their goals or objectives? So this research is made because of these following goals. So this is based on my idea. Their main objectives, I think, were two. First one is to develop a simulation model to determine the earliest possible finishing time of civil engineering projects. So taking into account uncertainties typical in construction. For example, weather, resource variability, and site conditions. The second one is to provide a more realistic schedule forecast than traditional deterministic scheduling methods. So by incorporating both deterministic and stochastic variables. Third one, main objective, is to offer a decision support tool for project managers to help anticipate possible delays and optimize resource allocation and timelines. Then lastly, number four, is to validate the model against actual project outcomes, example, historical project data. So to check accuracy and reliability. Next is, what were the research questions, if any? So I think they have three research questions after I review their research paper. So the first one is, can a simulation model combining stochastic and deterministic inputs more accurately predict the project's completion time than traditional deterministic scheduling? Then number two, what is the likely distribution of ending times, completion dates, for civil engineering projects under uncertainty? Then lastly, number three, so how can such a model be used to support scheduling decisions and risk management in the construction projects? The next question, what were their methods in terms of, but not limited to? So the first one is, how have they gathered relevant data? They collected historical project data from diverse sources. So meaning, they used real-world past civil engineering projects as input to model durations, variability, and risk factors. So this historical data set provided the basis to fine-tune the model to reflect the specific characteristic of civil engineering projects. So the following questions for this is, we have, who are the participants? So in this context, the participants are past civil engineering construction projects, not human participants. So the data set comprises those projects under scheduling completion time records. So additional question is the data gathering setup. So the authors aggregated data from diverse sources, likely project records, schedules, actual completion timelines, documented delays, and resource lags, etc. So lastly, the tools, techniques used in data gathering. For the simulation model, we used a hybrid of Monte Carlo simulation and agent-based modeling to reflect the stochastic and dynamic nature of construction projects. For data collection, presumably mining historical project records, schedules, duration, and lags. So follow-up questions. What were their methods in terms of, but not limited to? Number two, how do they form the data set? So they assemble the historical project data into a data set presenting various project parameters, activity durations, resource constraints, possible delay factors. This data set was used as input to the simulation model. So follow-up question in this number, data cleaning. So the abstract does not explicitly state how they clean the data. There's no mention of outliner removal, normalization, or data pre-processing and highly level summary. So next, what were their methods in terms of, but not limited to? Number three, how do they process the data? They ran multiple simulation interactions with their model, combining deterministic and stochastic variables to generate a probability distribution of possible finishing times. Example, a range of likely project completion dates given variability. They then validated the simulation output by comparing with the actual project outcomes from the historical data. The comparison demonstrated improved accuracy and reliability compared to traditional scheduling methods. So another question that we're going to answer based on our research paper review is, what were their findings? So after I finished to review the research paper, I formulated these three findings. So the first one is, the simulation model produced a probability distribution of project completion times rather than a single deterministic date, capturing the variability inherent in civil engineering projects. For number two, the model's predictions were validated against historical project outcomes, showed improved accuracy and reliability compared to traditional scheduling methods. For number three, the approach provides a useful decision support tool for project managers, enabling dynamic adjustments in resource allocation and scheduling to mitigate potential delays. Okay, so let's proceed with, what were the gaps in their study or findings? First one is, the paper description does not detail exactly which historical projects were used, their number, location, type, size, or complexity. So generally, stability may be limited if the data set is narrow or not representative. Number two, there is no mention of data cleaning procedures. Quality assessment of the historical data or how they dealt with missing or inconsistent records. So they can affect model reliability. For number three, the method seems to focus on time schedule, completion only. Other important project performance metrics, cost, quality, resource utilization appear not addressed. Then for number four, uncertainty factors included may be limited. So depending on historical data availability, for example, whether resource fluctuations and the site conditions are mentioned, but more nuanced or rare risk events, example, regulatory delays, labor strikes, supply chain disruptions. So may be hard to capture unless they were in the data. Number five, the validation seems retrospective, comparing simulation output with known project outcomes. There's no mention of prospective validation, so applying the model to a new project and tracking its real performance. For number six, the abstract does not clarify model sensitivity. So how sensitive outputs are to variation in input assumptions, or how robust the model is under extreme or unexpected conditions. So these are the findings or the gaps of the study that I have noticed. Okay, so let's proceed with what are my takeaways on the research paper. So after I review the research paper, so these are my takeaways. The first one, the paper presents a valuable advance in construction project scheduling. So by combining Monte Carlo and agent-based simulation, it acknowledges the inherent uncertainty in civil engineering projects rather than relying on deterministic expectations. Number two, using historical real-world data to calibrate the model increases its practical relevance. The results are not purely theoretical, but grounded in actual project experience. For number three, my takeaways number three, the approach shifts project completion forecasting from single point estimates, which often fail, to probability distributions, a more realistic way to communicate risk, expected timeframes, and contingency planning. Okay, number four, for project managers and planners, this method offers a decision support tool rather than treating schedule as fixed. They can be better plan resources, buffer times, risk mitigation strategies. For number five, however, to fully trust such a model, one needs a broad and highly data set, clear documentation of assumptions, and possible prospective validation in live projects, aspects which seem less emphasized, or at least not visible in the public summary. For number six, this kind of research is particularly useful if you, as a student or engineer, want to explore building simulation frameworks for construction scheduling, combining stochastic modeling with project management for risk-aware scheduling or planning. Okay, so I have six takeaways after I review this research paper. Okay, so I think that is the end of my presentation. So thank you so much for viewing this research review paper. Thank you.